find ourselves in a situation where we are accusing others of behaving a certain way, or asking continually, did you do this, did you do that, or what did you, but there's a sort of suspicion to it, where we're not sure if we believe and trust. And we might even be judgmental of behaviors, other people and behaviors. And we might even bring it up, all the consequences that someone's behavior has, an impact it has in a, say for instance, relationship. For instance, if you find yourself that, we could find ourselves, for instance, judging and criticizing, or giving examples that someone had an affair and this and that and the other were the consequences. You might find, say, if you're in a relationship, but you could find yourselves judging and criticizing, or pointing the things that are wrong in that relationship, or that the choices the people are making and how that is having an impact on all the parties. We can also find ourselves questioning our partner. Where have you been? Where did you go? What did you do? Even though we already been told, and we just go back to asking, where did you go? Where have you been? What did you do? And then questioning in detail to see if there's a lapse or something they might say that might prove the thoughts in our heads that either the person is cheating. No. There are instances where someone might choose to cheat, and I'm not addressing that. Okay? I'm choosing the instances where we think that the person might cheat, and we are making ourselves, we are either turning that into a self-fulfilling prophecy, I'm not sure about the word, okay, or we make our lives miserable because we are suspicious or being very harsh and critical and judgmental of our partner. But we don't know if the thoughts in our heads are true, not true, if they're engaging, not engaging. We're not certain, but we feel suspicious of it. No. It's not a nice situation to be in a relationship like that, because it's showing that there's no trust. And sometimes we have reasons where we might not trust. Sometimes it could be we might have real evidence, but sometimes it's because what we observe in other people, what you observe of things that we've heard, things that we listen, and things that we have compiled over the years. It is important to differentiate if it's if there's been a real breach of trust and there's a confession, there's evidence. If that's the case, I'm not giving you any advice. I don't know how to deal with that. But you could speak with a health professional, a mental health professional that can help you and support and find solutions. If you're struggling with any mental health problem, also encourage professional support, so you can be supported all the way. But there are instances that we are creating the problem ourselves. And those are the instances that I'm sort of addressing. For instance, we might project the way that we actually are feeling. We might blame someone or accuse someone, and actually they haven't done anything. It's just we are projecting the way that we feel, that we don't want to admit. We don't want to admit perhaps that we might be struggling, or that we might have the thoughts or the impulses, and we might not want to share those with the partner, depending if this on how good the communication is and what is possible to share. Or sometimes it's possible to share, but we don't want to admit, okay, because we might see that as a vulnerable part of us, and we might not want to be in a position where someone has our vulnerabilities in their hands. But it's taking a moment do I have real evidence? In that case, in what way can I be supported? And having a health professional is always the best way because it's neutral, and usually health professionals, they have knowledge, they can support in different areas of the life. It's always better because they have an intention of your well-being, but there's no secondary gains, whereas a family member, a friend might have an interest on the outcome. Okay, so it might not be totally impartial, and sometimes people don't know. Okay, and it's very complicated, and it does impact so many areas of our life. So for any health struggles, I do recommend to seek help with a health professional, a mental health professional. That's what I suggest for anyone. If we try to help ourselves on the way, and it's not the case that we have the evidence, is that we are finding ourselves, that we are accusing, blaming, judging, criticizing, let's question ourselves. Am I projecting the way I feel? Meaning, do I feel like having it, or wanting to have an affair, or struggling not to have an affair? Or am I feeling guilty because I had an affair? No, I think my partner will have an affair. Okay? It's a question, are we projecting the way we feel because we are thinking, considering, or struggling, or because we feel guilty because we have done that, and we're projecting that if we've done, our partner is also likely to do it? Or let's reflect, are we feeling vulnerable? Meaning, we worried that our partner might engage in that behavior because we are not at our best. Because when we're struggling with our mental health, we're likely to engage in behaviors that are not as healthy, as balanced, and makes us feel good. Perhaps we might distance ourselves from our partner more, so we're closed, we're more harsh, more judgmental, more critical. And those things distanced, and also we might not feel in love with ourselves or our partner. So there's a greater risk that our partner might go somewhere else for attention, love, and validation. Or even if there's physical distance, even for, say, having a more physical contact. And every relationship is for the individuals in the relationship to agree what is acceptable, not acceptable, what they will tolerate, not tolerate, what is right and wrong, and we just need to pick the partners that are more in line with our values. Because there's no right or wrong, it's what we feel, that is what we wish to live and experience. And if you find a partner that comes along with those values, then the better for everyone. So we could go down the road of judging, criticizing, but then that doubt gets bigger. And then the behavior of controlling, checking gets worse. And then we feel ashamed of our behavior, and we don't know what to believe and what to trust. So seek health professional support, but also give the benefit of the doubt, as in, am I projecting the way that I'm feeling? Am I projecting my insecurities and my struggles? So this is the way I feel, or am I projecting it, oh, I wish to do that, and I think my partner also would like to wish, so I'm projecting what I think and feel and want, rather than what the other person feels, thinks and wants. Also, am I feeling vulnerable in terms of, because I'm not feeling my best, I'm not behaving it, I'm not at my best, so there's a bigger possibility that the other person might seek love and attention somewhere else. Okay? So instead of judging and criticizing, let's own it and say, perhaps we might go down the road of just saying, where'd you go, but then after just admitting, okay, I'll admit, I am feeling a little suspicion, and I'm asking all of these questions because I'm feeling very suspicious. Or if we go down the road, oh, they had an affair and they've done this and they've done that and this and that and that, and the other consequence happened. Or if you find ourselves justifying, I wouldn't have an affair because of this and that and the other. Okay, why are we justifying? Are we trying to preach on the other person? Are we trying to make the other person see it that is not a good choice? It's not the best choice. Are we really saying that for us, or are we saying that because we want the other person to think and believe those thoughts and take those actions? Because it's a way of trying to protect ourselves. It's a little bit tricky. So we can just go and admit, okay, I have been saying all these things because I feel vulnerable, because I'm not feeling my best physically, mentally, emotionally, because I'm not engaging in this and that and the other activity that's usually seen as a positive thing. So I'm feeling more vulnerable, that you might go and seek other ways of feeling good. And then we can go in behind that judgment or be a wish. And can I ask you to please be responsible and respectful and don't engage in things that could lead to extra problems because I'm feeling extra vulnerable. If you choose to do that, we can even ask if that is your choice, if that is your preference, if you wish and want to be with someone else, can you please do the right thing to do? First, let's break up, and then you can go and engage with someone else. I don't know, relationships are complex, and if there is marriage, and if there's kids, and if there are assets in between, can be extremely complicated. That's why the help of a health professional is important. But sometimes we can minimize the conflict and build the trust, and also know that we've done our best to communicate our thoughts instead of using the tricks of the mind. And because if you go down the road of accusing, controlling, then it's less likely to get the best out of ourselves and the other person. Also, if we have expressed ourselves, then there's no way that we can come up with, oh, you should have known, you should have guessed, I already communicated my preference. And then there's a possibility that the person will think things through if they are in a situation. If you don't know, if it's not clear, you don't know where you stand. But when it's clear, then there's less ways of defending a behavior that might not be appropriate. So it's not for me to say what's right and what's wrong. It's just to, in what ways can we minimize some of the problems that do happen to us that actually we are creating because we are not sharing our wants and preferences and wishes, because we're trying to hide our wants and preferences and wishes we're hiding that behind a judgment and a criticism and labeling. We're rationalizing, we're explaining with the hope that the person would hear and know with the meaning behind it, rather than being direct. Just direct. Okay, I'm feeling suspicious, and answer my questions. And I hope that when you leave, you'd be respectful of me, of you, of our relationship. And I hope that I can trust you. And deeply down, please do not cheat, or do not engage with someone else's in this and that behavior. Like some people, they're okay with talking. Some people are okay with something more involved than some people. So you have to be clear what you are, what specific behaviors you are okay, and what specific. We need to be clear, what are we comfortable with and what we're not comfortable with, what we will tolerate and what we will not tolerate. Yes, you can engage with this, but these are the limits. And we are specifying, so we are communicating our preference, and also the person knows where they stand, and hopefully being mature and rational, then we can engage in the best possible solutions. And I also have to think, what is the best for me, the other person, and the relationship? So, many times we are judging, criticizing, and poking or trying to see where the holes are poking things through to see if there's any holes, any inconsistencies, because we're trying to see if there's anything that perhaps we've created in our mind. Okay? Being vulnerable does put us in a position where others know what our struggles are. That is true, but also it's a great way of knowing. There's no way, you don't have the excuse you should have known because you've told. Okay? It's clear. Is a clear communication of a preference or a boundary. Then you decide if the boundaries are broken, then you can look at the reasons why and decide how you wish to deal with that. But we're just trying to minimize some of the problems that we might be creating unnecessarily, because we might feel too vulnerable to share our vulnerabilities, and we're more likely to feel vulnerable when we are struggling with our physical, mental and emotional health. And we might not be engaging in things such as looking after ourselves, things that normally would look after, or even work. So we might be feeling less than. So we can communicate that preference. I'm feeling more vulnerable. We are experiencing, or we're going through a time where there's greater risk. Let's learn from the mistake of others. And then if you're in that position, this is my choice, this is my preference. And you can even say, if you choose to engage in something else, this is what I'm going to do. So it's clear. Anyway, health struggles, marital struggles, seek health professionals who can be fully supported. It's not advice, it's just an encouragement to own and take responsibility for our stuff, which is, am I projecting the way I'm feeling, accusing you of something, but actually it's me that is feeling that, always me that is feeling guilty, always me that is feeling vulnerable, and this is my wishes and preferences. Just communicating, owning that. That is one way of solving or minimizing our struggles. Love, big hug. And remember, whatever happens, you'll find a way of finding solutions, and you will be okay. So, worry not. Bye for now.